Hey guys, this is Selkek, also known as Paulaelia, and we're playing Garry's Mod, is what I would say if this were a Let's Play series, but this is not. As you can see from the title of the video, this is Garry's Mod Tutorials, Wiremod 101. Okay, so I'm going to be teaching you guys some of the fundamental things of Wiremod, and I might go into some other mods as well, because I get so many messages about people that are like, how to Wiremod, how to Stargate, how to whatever. So I'm just going to instead start teaching you guys some stuff. So let's put this here. There we go. This is going to be our workstation. And this video, I'm just going to cover the basics of Wiremod real quick, just like blaze past them, and then we'll do some stuff. So let's get into it. I'm going to very quickly create a very super basic Wiremod setup. So I've got a button here, and my button, I've picked the model of my button, what I want it to look like. Toggle means that when you push the button, it is on, and then you push it again to go off. If you don't use toggle, you push and hold it to be on, and when you release it, it goes off. So toggle's that. Output entity is only if you want to do fancy stuff with your buttons. My on value is 1, my off value is 0. So, bam, right there. Push it, it becomes on. See, I can look away and look back. It's still 1. Push it again, and it goes off. So that is that. That is under the I/O. I/O stands for input output. It contains things like buttons, levers, pod controllers, etc. So wire display is where you can then view things. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get a screen. I'm going to use one value. I'm going to pick my model. I'm going to name this value. So this text A is the text. If you uncheck use one value, it uses two values, and we'll display both of them. I'm going to create flat to surface. So as you can see, if I uncheck this, it looks like the thing is going to be standing upright against the ground. And if I check flat to surface, it's going to be flat against the ground. So I'm going to go ahead. Okay, so I have my screen, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set my wire width to 2, and I'm using the Wire Advanced tool because it has a better user input when you're using it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start here. You have to wire from output to from the input to the output. So I want the button of the value of the button to be inputted into the screen. So I start at the screen, and it's got an input value, and I draw my wire, and it goes to the button. So there you can now see the wire I've drawn. If I look at it at the certain angles, it kind of if I'm looking at the screen, it flashes to tell me that this wire comes from this thing. So there we go. So now if I hit the button, it changes the value on the screen. That is how Wiremod works in a nutshell. Now let me do I can undo that by pushing R. R clears the input. You can see on the screen there it says reload unlinks. So, and if you Alt R, you undo all the inputs on the thing. So let me show you. There's one other very basic component. Up here in wire control, there's this gate. Gates and the expression 2, which we're not going to get into right away, are the kind of like actual thinking mechanics that you can do programming with Wiremod. So you come into gate, and these are the categories of gates. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get an arithmetic gate. Arithmetic means math, like arithmetic. And I'm going to get an add. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to plump my add there. So there's my add. This will now add A plus B. So if I go into Wire Advanced, you can see it takes in A through H. So it will add up all of the inputs you give it. So we need to give it a second input. I will grab constant value. Constant value is just what it exactly sounds like. It's a constant thing. You can only change it if you manually come back to the tool and change it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give our constant thing a value of 2. So we now have constant value. I'm going to put it a little bit lower. Constant value with the number of 2. So you can see there, wire value 2. Wire Advanced tool. So I'm going to wire up B to the output of that. So now you can see when I look at it, let me switch that, wire gate, it's now got a value that it's still waiting for, or the value that that's coming for, and it's going to add it to something else. So right now the value is still 2. So let's go ahead and go to this button, and we'll make the button A. So we'll go bink, right click. So right click allows you to draw out the things. So you can see when I select the various inputs, it will blink the input. So now I've got button plus value equals 2. And my screen, of course, will wire this up to the output of that. So right now, it is adding 2 and 0. 2 and 0 is 2. 2 and 1 is 3. Bam. That's Wiremod in a nutshell. Seriously, that is it. The complicated part comes from interacting with other things. Like if you want to use these physics ones, like if you want to use this thruster here. This thruster, I will go ahead and plop it on there. And I'll have my thruster be connected to this button. So when you push the button, the thruster is now active and it's now thrusting. If I release this, it will peg to the ground because this is a very powerful thruster. And so the trick is then with Wiremod to build up these complex systems of inputs and outputs. So we can leave this here, and let's build something a bit more real worldy, something that we can wrap our heads around. So I'm going to select a cube, just a regular old cube, and I am going to, where is it? Tools, physical properties, metal, but I'm going to uncheck gravity. So if I were to unfreeze this, and if I give it some momentum, okay, now it just kind of floats everywhere. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to come under here, I'm going to go to physics, I'm going to go to thruster. I'm going to set my force multiplier to just 100 though. I don't want it to be too powerful. I'll put 1 on the front, 1 on the back, straight in the center there. And now I'm going to wire up some buttons. And I'm going to undo the toggle on the buttons. I'm going to put the buttons right under the thrusters. So now, the buttons, you have to hold them down. And when you hold them down, they will push the cube. So, boop. Oh, I got to unfreeze the cube. Oh, and physical properties have to be applied to everything. Alright, so let me lift this back up in the air. Okay, so now when I push this, it gives it a bit of force, and now it's moving. And if I push this one, it stops. Because of the dynamics of having the buttons on there, it's not perfectly aligned, so it of course is going to now be tumbling off. And if I can hold it, even if the button is no longer in front of me, as long as I'm holding down the key, it will stay, and now I can release that, and I've effectively parked my floaty cube. But that is, like, seriously the most basic thing. Wiremod is super simple to start with. It just gets really complex. I'm not sure why this is flashing. It just gets complex when you're trying to do lots of things together. So for example, let's pull up something like the pod controller here. So the pod controller, as you can see, has a variety of inputs, and if I wanted to, say, like, reassign the input, so now I've selected A on this. I'm trying to wire up this. Look at all of the outputs this thing has. I mean, these are just buttons, WASD, the mouse buttons, your previous weapon, your next weapon, your light button, the XYZ buttons. These are other things, like what you're aiming at, your current height, whether or not you're in third person or not, your health, your armor, whether or not the seat is active. I mean, there are just a ton of things, and things like entity and aim pause are more advanced pieces of data. Entity is, as you saw, the button could output entity. Entity means like an object. A vector is like 3 numbers that are linked together. So a vector could be like an XYZ coordinate. It could also be the direction you're looking. It can be all sorts of things. So basically, Wiremod just takes this advanced principle, this principle of things have outputs and things have inputs, and the wire sends the outputs to the inputs, and then you chain them up together to do all of your craziness. Like, you can have as many things connected to a single button as you want. But if you wanted to, say, have loads of buttons that all triggered this only has the one input. So you have to use gates to build up so that you have one wire that comes in, but it has multiple buttons all controlling it. Like, it just takes this principle and starts going more and more and more and more, and you have to really focus and pay attention to make sure that you've got everything lined up correctly, and make sure that you've got things to do what you want them to do. And it is oh, I wanted to change to this, thank you. You just have to really like plan things out and actually try to like sketch them out beforehand. Like, make sure you have an understanding, like, I'm going to be having these directional thrusters, and these directional thrusters are going to be controlled by these keyboard controls. And these keyboard controls are going to be modified by these values, so that, like, if I'm upside down, for instance, and I push left, it turns me right, but if I'm right side up, it'll turn me left. Like, those sort of conditionals you have to be coded in using either complex gates or expression 2 circuitry. But it really just all boils down to this setup of inputs to outputs, inputs to outputs, inputs to outputs, and go, and have some form of input from the player, whether it be a passive like detection, like a ranger, or whether it be something active like they push a button, and then you have something that does something, and you can have things that modify your values. So that's the basic concept. Oddly enough, this is also the basic concept of programming. So if you have any interest in programming, you'll find that this flows in a very logical way. Expression 2, let me pop back over, pull up expression 2. Expression 2 literally is programming. So there we go. This is what an expression 2 thing looks like. It is just a little program script. You have your input values A and B here. You have your output values, which are defined so that you can wire tool them. There's some more outputs, etc. And then you have you just assign values to them, and people can pull out the values. So that's really it. Like, if I'll just slap down this hello world one and show you that it's got 2 inputs. It's also got all these outputs. So there you go. It's pretty simple stuff. It's gonna take a bit to get a hang of. Obviously, I'm gonna be doing a few more of these videos, so if you have questions about specific Wiremod functionality or specific Stargate functionality or what have you, I might do a quick little tutorial video on it. And if you if you have something that you want to see me try and do with Wiremod, like for example, hey Paulaelia, could you show how you could build a 6-axis spaceship thing that can go up, down, left, right, strafe, side, you know, etc. Then sure, I can show you how you accomplish that and all the necessary controls you need to do for that. So leave me some comments, and I will see you guys next time.